Hello, dear friends. We continue the exclusive interview, The Economics of Potatoes Worldwide. And with me is my co-host, Sergei Nikolaevich Strokov. Sergei Nikolaevich, good day.
Good morning, Viktor Alexievich.
Yes, today is February 23rd, 2025, and here in Russia, we are celebrating Defender of the Fatherland Day. I want to congratulate everyone involved on this day and wish everyone good health, good luck, and probably victory. Most importantly, Sergei Nikolaevich, well, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly.
Yes. We are broadcasting not only to Russia, but I think other viewers are watching as well. Today, we will focus mainly on the European Union and issues concerning European potatoes. Last year, and indeed the past few years, have shown a good price. Potatoes in Europe? And what are the forecasts for increasing the potato planting area in 2025? Do they exist? What are the main factors of this growth?
By the way, that's a very good question to start the discussion. Therefore, I think our viewers will be interested to know what has been happening. In the potato sector of Europe, the European Union over the last 20-25 years. So in broad strokes, from 2000 to 24, the potato planting areas in the European Union have halved from 3 million to 1.5 million hectares. Potato production in the EU has decreased by a third, from 75 to 50 million tons. At the same time, the average yield increased by 40% from 25 to 35 tons per hectare. But the most interesting thing is to look at what happened with the structure, that is, what changed in terms of the geographical distribution of potato production in Europe. Here, the picture is also very interesting. So we can clearly see that over the last 20-25 years, potato production has shifted to 4 countries. They are referred to as the EU4, which includes Germany, France, the Netherlands, and Belgium. Over these 25 years, their share in the cultivated areas increased from 25% to 55%. So what happened? This group of 4 practically maintained the cultivated areas at the same level, that is 750,000 hectares. Meanwhile, their share of production increased from 40% to 65%. The same story. Across all of Europe, production was declining, while in the group of 4, production remained in the range of 28 to 32 million tons. And the average yield in this group of 4 remained practically at the same level of 40-45 tons per hectare for all these 20 to 25 years. Well, let's now look at what is forecasted for 2025, so that in this context, it is clear to you. Most experts expect an increase in the production of cultivated areas. Across all of Europe, a 4% growth is forecasted, both in the group of 4 and in other countries. A particularly large increase is expected in France. There, an increase of up to 7% is expected. And we know why, because France is now introducing new processing capacity, and French farmers are responding to this by expanding their cultivated areas. Production is planned to grow by about 3%, that is from 50 to 52 million tons, but nevertheless it is growth. The only ones who can boast, at least from the experts' perspective, of a record are Germany and France. Experts expect that Germany will also have a record harvest, around 12 million tons, and France will also have a record harvest over this entire 20-year period at the level of 10 million tons. Well, and the factors, what factors are the drivers of this growth? Well, firstly, it's the increase in purchase prices. In just the last 3 years, farm purchase prices, especially for processing potatoes, have increased by 1.5 times. from 200 euros to 300 euros per ton. Demand is expanding. From the processing side, new production capacities are being introduced in many countries. In France, in Belgium, in Germany, there is a growing demand for seed, potatoes, especially seed potatoes for export. As we have discussed many times, we know that there is active expansion of production in China, in India, and in many other countries. They need seed potatoes and are actively purchasing them from Europe. Well, another important factor is the decrease in profitability and profitability of other crops. As I mentioned to you, the purchase prices for potatoes have increased from 200 to 300 euros, but during the same period, over the last 3 years, the purchase prices for wheat, for example, have decreased by almost 1.5 times, from 350 euros to 250 euros per ton.
Sergei Nikolaevich, look, won't there be a situation where there is an overproduction of potatoes in Europe? We are studying everything with you. North Africa, Egypt is actively increasing its production volumes. Do you have any data, just a thought that came to mind, on the main buyers of French and German potatoes? That is, where do the main flows go? Besides domestic consumption?
Viktor Alexievich, overproduction is inevitable because we can't escape it. When prices rise, farmers expand their sowing, and already this year many are concerned about this issue. For example, there is a Northwestern Association of Potato Producers called NEPG, and these experts, it unites potato growers. These 4 countries, namely Germany, France, Belgium, and the Netherlands, have already raised the alarm and are urging farmers not to expand their sowing too drastically if they do not see stable demand. And therefore, this problem is recognized, but how it will manifest depends entirely on the harvest. If suddenly the weather conditions are very favorable and the harvest is large, there will undoubtedly be overproduction. Prices will fall, and consequently, many farmers, considering the rising production costs, will go bankrupt and leave. And we certainly see an increase in output, an increase in sales of Egyptian potatoes to the European market, and we also see a rise in sales. Processed products such as French fries and potato chips from China, for example, to European and African countries, which reduces the export base for the same enterprises that are being introduced into production capacities, because they are introduced primarily with an eye on export. We have discussed this with you more than once. Over the last 5 years, prices have sharply increased for the global markets.
Yes, I agree with you, including warning Russian farmers that high prices in the Russian potato market may also lead to the temptation to expand potato acreage. Due to overproduction in 2020, Dutch potatoes, specifically fries, crashed the Australian market. How this, it's a well-known story, so probably we still need to observe the situation around us, what's happening, yes, and make forecasts. Tell me regarding potato stocks, perhaps as a way to study and understand the potato reserves in Belgium, what is happening now compared to previous years. Maybe this is some kind of litmus test. Paper, yes, a warning signal for us.
Are absolutely right, Viktor Alexievich. We always need to carefully monitor the stocks of food products. This is always a starting point for experts. And Belgium, as one of the largest exporters, primarily of French fries in the world, accumulates these potato stocks from all over Europe. In fact, let's see what's happening there. As of February 1st, this year, the potato stocks of Belgian processing producers amount to 2.5 million tons. It seems like nothing special. This is the average figure for the last 5 years. But if you look at the structure of these stocks, it becomes very apparent. An interesting picture emerges that the stocks of potatoes purchased under contracts are 20% less than last year. This means that processes now have fewer resources for work than they did last year, significantly by 20%. They are now forced to purchase these potatoes on the open market and pay 30% more than under contracts.
How this will affect the cost of French fries in 2025-2026, we will watch and observe. France is increasing its potato production and processing. What about potato prices in France right now?
I would say potato prices in France are simply excellent. Amazing. Amazing, amazing, amazing. The heart rejoices for the French. Farmers who grow potatoes, look at this. In February, the price for washed potatoes is 500 euros. And what's most interesting is that it has remained stable since September. It's been like that. And for comparison, in February 2021, the price for the same washed potatoes in France was 250 euros per ton, which is half the current price. Export fresh potatoes, the price increased from 300 euros to 380 euros per ton. There you go. This is, of course, lower than, for example, in February 2024. At that time, the price was 450 euros per ton. What is the reason for this? Firstly, there was a sharp drop in demand from Spain, which was high at the beginning of last year. And again, the start of early potato shipments from Egypt.
Last year in Europe, there was an outbreak of late blight and rhizoctonia. This is considered one of the main reasons, namely the tightening of the use of chemical agents, plant protection, and the active use of biologically active agents. What about this year? What factors could affect the yield in the EU in 2025? Do you have any data on this?
Yes, it's active. It is currently being discussed. But I would like to say that predicting yield is practically like fortune telling, like reading tea leaves. No one knows what the year will be like. We can only speculate. Therefore, I would simply like to tell our TV viewers how forecasts are generally made. Forecasts are usually based on the average of the last 5 years, for example. And a confidence interval is constructed, which is a statistical term. What possible deviations from the average are there? And what is it? And usually such a confidence interval is constructed, for example, with a 90% probability of falling within this interval. This is what we are currently seeing according to European experts' forecasts. For 2025, the average yield in the EU is forecasted 136 tonnes per hectare. The confidence interval is from 35 to 37 for the quartet. 42, 2 tons per hectare, with a confidence interval from 41 to 43. And for other EU countries, 29 tons per hectare, with a wide range from 44 tons in Denmark, down to 15 tons per hectare. In Romania, I would like to draw your attention and the attention of our viewers to the fact that much more greater importance is placed on the forecast of sown areas, as it is usually based on quite extensive surveys of farmers and their plans. And here the picture is much more interesting. Based on these surveys, European experts have made their forecasts. And what do we see? The highest growth in sown areas is forecasted in France at 7%. In Poland, Spain, Romania at 5%. In Germany, Belgium, the Netherlands at 4%. However, in other countries, the growth is around 2%. So we see that all of Europe is preparing to expand potato crops, potato planting areas. And how this will end, no one knows.
Yes, I think that by December 2025, we will already understand how critical this is, or how positive it is. In the United Kingdom, how have the export-import trends with potatoes changed in the United Kingdom?
The United Kingdom is a very active player in the global market. And there are very different trends there. Well, let's start with French fries, since the United Kingdom is one of the main importers of French fries in the world, ranking second after the United States. In 2024, the United Kingdom set another record and imported 868,000 tons of French fries, 1.5 times more than in 2020. However, this is still significantly less than in the United States. In the United States, a record amount was also imported last year, 1.5 million tons. And, as we remember, 1 million tons of that is from Canada. No, Belgium, out of these 68,000 tons that were imported by the United Kingdom, 500,000 are from Belgium, 60%, 300,000 are from the Netherlands, 35%. So 95% of this amount is supplied by two countries, Belgium and the Netherlands. I especially want to draw attention to the average price. In the last few years, the average price of potato supplies has been continuously rising. Now we see stabilization. In 2024, the price was practically the same, even slightly lower than in 2023. The average price is $1,600 per ton. I should also note that the United Kingdom exports a certain amount of French fries, about 30,000 tons, mainly to Ireland. Regarding potato chips, the import amounted to 62,000 tons. Again, the main exporters are Belgium and the Netherlands, each with 35%. Interestingly, the imports we eat of chips from other countries has increased. For example, the import has increased from Spain to the United Kingdom by 20% and reached thousands of tons. And the import of chips from China has tripled from 500 to 1,500 tons. At the same time, the average price also stabilized at the level of thousands of US dollars per ton. The United Kingdom was quite a large exporter of chips. And here we see a clear decline. Over the last 5 years, the export of potato chips from the United Kingdom has fallen threefold, from 60 to 20,000 tons. And what do we see here? Here are the main buyers of English in the United Kingdom. It's unfortunate that Arab operators have started buying more potatoes from China because why? Because it's 1.5 to 2 times cheaper than English ones. The United Kingdom is a major exporter of table potatoes. In 2024, increased its table potato supplies by 30%, bringing them to 90,000 tons. Who are the main clients? Spain, Ireland, France. The average price last year was $730 US per ton. Moreover, during peak periods, the price reached over $1,000 per ton. Who would manage to export at such prices? And seed potatoes. The UK is also a major supplier of seed potatoes to global markets. In 2024, it exported 86,000 tons. But there's an interesting situation there as well. Who do you think it is, the main consumer of British seed potatoes?
Probably Egypt.
Yes. 80% is exported to Egypt. That's what we were talking about. Developing countries that have focused on potato production need seed potatoes and import them in large quantities. From Europe?
Yes, well, in Egypt now, I think they are actively developing their own seed program. So I wouldn't advise the British, but I think they should. Keep an eye on it. Sergei Nikolaevich, I know that you are preparing materials for the magazine Potato System. Can you give us a little preview of what the materials will be about as a teaser so that people will want to get this magazine?
All right, by the way, I have already submitted an article, and it will be dedicated to the global market of potato flakes. In my previous article in December 2024, I provided an overall picture of the entire potato market, its products and processing, showing that there is growth in all directions. Therefore, the title for the article was chosen, "The World Loves Potatoes." Here, I delve more deeply into what is happening in the potato flakes market, and I pay particular attention to the drivers of this. I identified 6 drivers there, which I think will be especially interesting for Russian potato flake producers, since this will help them in developing a strategy to enter global markets and the markets of specific countries.
Yes. It will be interesting to read. I look forward to the release of the magazine. I never read articles that haven't been published in the magazine yet because there's a great temptation, but I read them exactly in the magazine. Sergei Nikolaevich, what do you think? Having studied this material and given recommendations on potato flakes, what other products for Russia might be interesting as exports free?
You think here, at the moment, all opportunities are open for us, both for French fries, potato flakes, and potato flour. And there are many other more detailed products like potato granules, potato chips. I think all these markets are open for us. The whole question is only about what our production costs will be, whether we can compete with China and India, where, as we know, labor is very cheap, at least in India. In China, of course, it's no longer cheap, it's more expensive than ours. And also, how well we can negotiate with other countries. I believe that our manufacturers are currently pursuing a very correct strategy. They are actively traveling to countries, primarily African countries, and Southeast Asia, studying their markets, participating in exhibitions, introducing themselves, seeking specialists and local companies that can be partners. This is a very correct strategy.
Well, our broadcast, I hope, is watched not only by Russian viewers, but also by viewers from other countries. We tried to translate it into English with you, and it turned out quite well. Yes, you are someone who knows English perfectly, and you say the translation is good. I want to suggest to viewers who are watching us from other countries to ask questions. Perhaps we can make a program not only for the Russian audience, but also for viewers who watch us in other countries, which I would very much like to do, of course, together with you, Sergei Nikolaevich.
I hope that what we are doing will be interesting to a wide audience, and we will work together with you in this direction.
Thank you very much for your time and for the contribution you make to the potato industry. We inform our viewers, and once again, congratulate everyone on February 23rd.
Thank you, Viktor Alexievich. I also congratulate you and our viewers on the holiday.
All the best. Goodbye.
Goodbye.